What happened to Dennis Condrey?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what me and Bobby knew for ages. We went to a spot show somewhere in North Carolina one night and had a match and rode home, as we always do. We always rode together, almost always. And I'm trying to think where it was. It was something like 70 miles or something, you know. So we got back about 12 o'clock, and we had to fly to California next day. Because that's when Crockett, it was weird. We'd be in Lincoln to North Carolina one night and Los Angeles the next night. It was kind of all over the page at that point, because Dusty was trying to spread him out so far, and we didn't really... We could do the houses in Gaffney, South Carolina that we were doing in Detroit. You know, it's a bad example. But anyway, why go everywhere? So we're like, okay, we got to go to California morning. Okay, I'll see y'all in the morning. Never saw him again. Left his wife, left his kid, left his partner, left his manager. I think he left his car at the airport. We later found out he took the ticket that he had booked, or that Crockett had given him to go to California, and changed it for a flight to Denver one way, and you know, nobody saw him again for a year. And then he popped back up to the original midnight thing with Randy, and then the screwy thing with that, the midnight deal was. It was the only angle at the time that wasn't Dusty's. It was mine, because we basically went to Dusty and said, "Look, we got nobody to work with."
Do you know why he left? Dennis left.
Well,
okay.
He headed that way. I don't know why he left the first time. He never would say anything about it. Huh. Possibly, right. You know. But I mean, his wife. Who knows?
Right.
You know. Point is, he pulled like the drastic Judge Crater vanishing act of all wrestling history. Nobody, and not even a clue. I'll see you in the morning. He went at the airport. We got to Los Angeles. We're like, this ain't good. You know, I mean, it was a calling. What was his wife's name? Lisa. Calling Lisa. I don't know where he is. We thought she's kayfabing. Right. You know, maybe have had a problem or what. She wasn't kayfabing. She didn't know where he was either. He was gone. So anyway. So then he resurfaces, and we needed somebody to work with. And I think, were they in Continental before, or it was closing or gone or what?
I think it was Alabama.
Whatever. And we said, hey, this could be good. Because I mean, I liked Paul Lee when he was a young, only attempted con man instead of the professional one that he is today. I see you're trying to laugh. No. But anyway, so Dusty sat and looked at it. Stan wasn't in the equation because Stan wasn't here then, and he excused Stan out. And he looked at me and Bobby. He said, "Dennis Condrey fucked you. And he fucked me, but he fucked you guys. And I won't hire him unless y'all say so." We said, yes, we want to do this. We like, working it with Dennis and Randy, and I can do the thing with Paulie, and I'll switch babyface. It's going to be fun. Because I actually like that. Because they said it couldn't be done, so therefore I wanted to do it.
All right.
And that was great. But then, unfortunately, that was right when, here goes Crockett. He's selling to TBS. Now is Dusty going to keep his job? All of a sudden, we shot this heavy angle on TV, and I fucking... cut my head off and bloodstained jacket and the whole thing. And actually, it was so cold in the TV studio. And I want to make sure this shit goes right? Because it was my deal, mostly. Kind of, okay, I can get a telephone call, and then they can come from A and blah. And my deal was us all three get juice. He said, it's too much because they said they let it get a little juice on TBS. So he says, you don't do it. They've seen them bleed. Why don't you do it? I said, okay. Now I wore the white jacket and everything, right? Get ready for this. And he whacks me with the phone, and I go down, and it's 60 degrees in that studio. And I, in my excitement, didn't realize that that's going to inhibit the flow of blood. So I go, oh, fuck. I exaggerate. Right. 3 real good ones. Right. 3 real good ones. You can still see a few of them maybe when I'm sweaty. It all came at the same time. So all of a sudden I'm going like, So you see me whispering to him on the tape. When Dennis and Randy are holding me up, what I've said is, too much? Too much? I'm like, are brains coming out yet? And Dusty said, damn kid, I thought you could get a little juice on TBS. Had puddles and trails everywhere. But we did this hot angle, and we go to the first house show we were going to work, which was, I think, Las Vegas, where they had been over in the AWA. So the building is rocking and everything. We have a great match. But we do a DQ, which is fine. But then the next night, JJ was calling the finishes. And I'm sorry, JJ, but you know what? He double talks a lot. And I like JJ on a personal level, but on a professional level, as Vince would say, you ask him what time it is, he'll tell you how to make the watch. By the time you leave, you don't have a clue what he said. He was saying shit that sounded like shit you wanted to hear, and you left, and you go, what the hell did he just say? 20-minute Broadway. 20-minute. I said, let's put them over. Let them fucking no. 20-minute Broadway. What about a DQ? 20-minute Broadway. Okay, when's the last time that two top teams shot a hot angle with a juice and a manager and blah 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 and a brawl and 20-minute Broadway?
Right.
Okay, they're cooling this thing off, and then didn't know whether it was because it wasn't Dusty's angle. It was the only one on the card that wasn't Dusty's angle, or whether it was that Jimmy Crockett wasn't particularly fond of Randy Rose. But then, no, or was it Jimmy didn't like Dennis? What? Jimmy didn't like one of them, but then George Scott comes in, and George Scott didn't like the other one, and that's why they booked the loser leave town for Randy to have to leave, but no, for Dennis to leave.
It was Dennis. I think.
Yeah, it was Dennis, but they were going to bring him back or do something else, but he just said hell with it. He needed him to show up to get the pay-per-view payoff, so that's why I put Jack Victory in there. It was so confusing. It was like 1 week Jimmy Crockett wasn't a booker, which he admitted that. He was a maintenance booker. He'll just keep it floating, provided it ain't got no holes in it, till somebody comes in and paddles. But he didn't like one of them. And then George Scott comes in. George Scott couldn't book a fart after a dinner at Taco Bell. I think he was already in advanced stages of Alzheimer's. He's got the goofiest guy I ever met in my life. He's the only person that was ever rude that I know of to Bobby Eaton. That shows you what kind of person he is. Rabid dogs go out of their way to not bite Bobby, And then George Scott didn't like the other one and was going to cut the thing off anyway. And then Paul Lee's like, oh God, he's all, he's like, he called me in a hotel somewhere when George Scott's the new booker. I'd never met him. I knew Sandy. Sandy worked for Crockett for 20 years. I liked Sandy. I thought, well, I later found out why Sandy and George hadn't talked in 20 years. Because George's a prick. What great manager did George Scott ever book or promote when he was booker of the Mid-Atlantic? I don't know. He said, exactly. We're doomed. I said, we're not doomed to fucking... Well, we were doomed by the fact that TBS owned the fucking thing. Not that just that George Scott was the booker, but we didn't know how doomed we all were. We would find that out, and they're still finding it out today. It's it's the thing that wouldn't die. It's been hemorrhaging for so long. But anyway, so that was all a mess, and the original Midnight thing went away. So it was the greatest angle that we did that never drew a fucking dime.
How'd you put Stan Lane into the mix?
Actually, when Dennis left, we're like, well, I can't bleach my hair because I don't have the body for it anyway. We got to get a partner. And when it was obvious he wasn't coming back, we didn't know where he was. But he's gone long enough. It's like a couple weeks. If his wife don't know where he is, he ain't coming back. So I thought about Tom Pritchard because I liked Tom and he could work and he had the hair and But Crockett had just bought Florida, which has turned out to be a lucky thing for us because I think Bobby and Stan, they just looked right together. Crockett had bought Florida. Steve Kern was kind of selling real estate. The Fabs weren't, the Fabs were getting past being teeny bopper or, sex symbol, whatever. And there was Stan, not ready to quit the business yet, didn't have a real estate license, making $300 a week in Florida because it was on its ass. So Dusty had him fly up to Charlotte or drive up. I can't remember, he drove, fly, whatever. But he came to the office and sat down with us and they said, well, is it okay with you guys? You think y'all guys? Yeah, well, the first night that they were partners was in Boston at Boston Garden. And it's a fairly big house, and we're with the Road Warriors. And I go out there to do the introduction, and I knew I was going to do it, and I jinxed myself into doing it. Beautiful Bobby and sweet Stan. I almost introduced Dennis, standing there looking at Stan. But that got it out of the system, and I didn't do that anymore. But after, 3 or 4 matches, they started doing simple shit. Because the simple shit you would make any mistakes at, and then it looked like you knew what you were doing, and then they got used to each other, and then all of a sudden, as Brian Pillman said one time, it's like working with a bunch of goddamn air traffic controllers. We had hand signals and code words, and everybody going to different places at the same time, and it was fun.
Right.
Because we could go out and have the best match on the card, except for Flair's, and in its own way different. And a lot of times Flair wasn't there, we'd have the best match on the card. And it didn't matter, the Midnight Express with Bobby and Stan never drew the money that the Midnight Express of Bobby and Dennis did. They were never in the main event spot all the time consistently in a variety of places. We were settled into our comfortable cruise control where we were in the middle to upper spot, underneath shit, but on top of more. And, but the matches got so good. The Southern Boys and Pillman and Zink even.